What's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I am your host, Joey McGee, aka Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me is Zimzilla99.
Shalom Shalah, my fellow
Meatbag.
Gagans.
Meatbag.
Hey, I know it's been a long time since I have been on this show.
And for the first time, TheGentleDragon.
That's the vibe.
And this is officially the second woman we've had on the podcast, and, both of them are into dark stuff and witchcraft, so guess that's what we attract on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The goth girl aesthetic is strong, Joey. We all know what you want.
But what we're looking at today is, as the name will have it, we're looking at a lot of AAA fuck-ups are currently happening from PlayStation, EA, as always, and, of course, Xbox. And, man, it fucking hurts to say all this, because I'm a fan of PlayStation and Xbox, and it sucks that they're messing up, but I feel like Xbox is going to be dying soon, but we'll get to that soon. Tokupunk... Where'd she go?
We scared away the woman.
Okay, she'll be back. Tokupunk said, hell yeah, Microsoft roast. And he even said, evil women.
Evil.
He said, everyone fucking
Joey,
up. Yep.
what color's you, Bugatti? Evil. Haram. Joey is haram.
Yep. But yeah, okay. Welcome back. Since you missed the TheGentleDragon, common viewer Tokupunk said, evil woman. It's okay, we're all going to hell. But I already solidified my place there a long time ago. And Aaron and Nathaniel are going there for being gay.
Stones and glass houses, twink.
But yeah, Tokupunk, the AAA industry is fucking up, but Xbox, my God. But first, what we're going to go to on this podcast, before we get to the topics, I'm going to ask, how is everyone doing? Since, again, podcasts are very personality-focused.
I've been chilling. So, just been grinding out content, grinding out streams, and...
Grinding on Aaron's balls.
No, that's your job, boy. And working on doing Blender stuff as well as programming for Unreal Engine. So, big plans.
Sounds good. What about you, Meatbag?
I've just been working in real life a lot and just been hanging out with everybody and trying to get everyone together to get something huge going.
Yep. Tokupunk said that Zim's become Keemstar with Black and Rick drama. I was thinking that
What's
too.
going on, guys? It's your host, Killer Zimstar. Let's get right into the news.
Because I was thinking that too. It's like, holy shit, your podcast is becoming drama alert, Zim.
What's it called? I now need to get a Photoshop of Keemstar's beard and a gnome hat and just put it on my character.
You should do that. That would be great.
There we
Doomzilla
go.
said, and I rip apart hell. Hell yeah. TheGentleDragon, how's your day doing?
Oh, I'm chilling. I made some curry earlier, cleaned up a little bit, and went to find my lizard who decided to spend the night under the dresser. He's a big bearded dragon, so he's house trained, so he just kind of wanders sometimes. He's pretty cool.
I love lizards. I used to have a bearded dragon, a green iguana. I had 2 Nile monitors, and now the house has a leopard gecko.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I got quite a few animals, but Dagger's the one of the 2 I've had the longest. That and my snake Violet, they're both 15.
Oh, it sounds like they're being taken care of.
Yeah, Dagger's on a diet, my bearded dragon. He's a little chunky. But that's okay, because he's a rescue.
Yeah. When it comes to what I've been up to, I've been doing a lot of content with Sakuda Central, which everyone should check out. Sakuda Central, for those who don't know, is a website dedicated to Japanese media. Me, Nick Huber, Kaiju Noir, and other people has been running. We've been building it, and we look forward to growing it further. So yeah, go check it out on Instagram, the website, the Facebook page, all of that. It's dedicated to building It's dedicated to bringing the Japanese community and the Western community of Japanese media together. And it's a passion project that we're looking on getting bigger. It's even partnered with Toho, and we're also partnered with even Crunchyroll. So we're getting very different spots to side with us. Other than that, I've been editing my King Kong review. It should be out tomorrow because it's almost done. I'm really liking how it's turning out. But as a whole, nothing too crazy. As Tokupunk Productions said, ooh, Crunchyroll. hey, getting partnered with them for a business dedicated to Japanese media is a good start, especially since that could make my Terebi and 60-second series more official. And of course, it's another big business we're partnered with. Of course, it's not as big as, well, being with one of Japan's biggest companies of all time, Toho. But, Brandon Clemson said, yeah, Crunchyroll too, LOL. But yeah, and he also said, what's up, Brandon? Yeah, first time these two have met in a while. Better not fuck in the chat. But, after all that's going, let's get to, for Zimstar, you say it.
Let's get right into the news.
There we go. Okay,
Do you
so
want me
before
to
we get
share the Xbox one first, or do you want to do it on your end first?
I'm doing the PlayStation 1 first because, well, the Xbox One is the king of fuck-ups right now, so we're starting a little bit smaller.
Okay.
PlayStation with Helldivers 2. This situation was dog shit because I'm not sure how many of you knew of the game Helldivers and how many of you, well, you probably all know of Helldivers, but I'm not sure how many of you played it. I haven't personally, but I heard it's a phenomenal game.
I've played a little bit of it on someone else's account.
How is it?
It's like it's probably, in terms of games, I compare it similar to something like Lethal Company. Not in the sense of it being like an indie dev, although they are smaller than most AAA devs, but essentially the open nature of the game allows for players to craft their own experiences and therefore have emergent memories that feel like a lot of the games we used to play when we were younger. So a lot of like those funny moments you get on Halo or RuneScape, WoW, things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of people have been comparing it, saying it's like Halo meets Starship Troopers.
Mhm.
I also gotten a bit of Star Wars Battlefront vibes from what I've seen it, but that's mostly visually. But point is, recent PlayStation's putting all their games on PC, like Xbox has been doing for the past couple years. But there's the catch. They made it where you had to have a PlayStation Network account, a PSN, which is ridiculous, because why would you want to make a PSN account if you're going on PC? And I'm a console player because I like physical copies, so I likely would have been using it with PSN anyways, but I can understand why people are mad, especially since you had all these countries that were being sold it that couldn't get into it because they had PSN, and as a result, it's even worse now. Well, before I get ahead of myself, they did fix this problem, but now another problem has been given. It's been delisted in the countries that doesn't. It's still delisted in the countries that had PSN. So now those people can't play it.
Dang.
Well, I think it's that since if they're delisted, it's that they can't be bought anymore. But I think I may be wrong, but I think if you had it in a delisted country already, then you still have access to the game. It's that there can't be any new players because of that stuff going down.
Yeah, and which is a shame because if people in those countries wanted to play it, they now can't buy it because of this shitty situation. And what's worse, you have the Sony ponies doing this stupid damage control of, oh my god, why don't you just make the account? It's like,
No.
some of these people don't have PSN. That's the thing. That's why it was delisted in the fucking countries. That's the problem. And also, again, if you're playing on PC, you shouldn't have to make a PSN account. Xbox doesn't make you have a Microsoft account to play its games on PC.
Actually, they do. In, like, for example, I know in the case of Halo that they do for the MCC.
Yes.
But what I will say is that the biggest issue that people have with it was that, unlike with Halo, for example, where you had to have a account set up from the get-go, you didn't have to have one set up for Helldivers. It was optional. And for all intents and purposes, it seemed like it was always going to be optional. But it seemed that now that Helldiver was getting a lot of attention, Sony wanted to then impose the PSN account requirement, which also would come with a lot of the more draconian sort of censorship and adminning, I guess you could call it, on PlayStation that would now be applying to PC players as well, which is why a lot of people took issues with it, because if they knew that down the line this was going to be changed, they probably wouldn't have bought the game in the first place. Not to mention, I'm not sure if this would have ended up being the case, but a lot of people had separate accounts on their PlayStation and their PC. I know a lot of people will buy things across multiple accounts because I may just want to play with other friends who don't have certain versions that they have. So that was another big issue that people had with it.
And as Doomzilla said, why the hell would PC players want to make a PSN account when Sony had history of getting hacked multiple times? The shadow of 2011 still present till this day. And he's right. But, and again, they still haven't. But hopefully soon they do. It does get delisted. It does get relisted in those countries. But again, as Doomzilla also pointed out, it's not over yet because they didn't learn their fucking lesson. Because again, Ghost of Tsushima is gonna require a PlayStation Network account too, which is absurd. I don't know why Sony's doing this. It's not good for business.
Like, I would say the thing with, at least with Ghost of Tsushima, is that from the get-go that was always a PC. It was always not PC. It was always a PlayStation exclusive. So now a PlayStation exclusive coming to PC, requiring you to have the account, pretty much the same as like what Microsoft's doing with Xbox. I think that, like, I don't agree with it. Same as I don't agree with you needing a Microsoft account to play any of their games on PC. But I would say it's at least consistent logically in that regard versus what they did with Helldivers. And even though people have already been making new accounts for like Origins, Microsoft, and the like to play other games, it doesn't mean that PC players necessarily like that. And if they don't need to make a new account, then they're going to prefer that over being forced to, which is what a lot of people were also upset about when it came to Helldivers.
Yeah. Tokupunk said, ouch, I'm sorry. What are you sorry about, Tokupunk? I must have missed something in the chat.
I think they're talking about the Games Workshop Warhammer stuff. If we want to cover that too, we can.
Yeah, we can. We are talking about a lot of bullshit going on in the game industry.
I'll pull up an article.
Yeah, pull that up. Also pull up the EA one while you're at it with the AI bullshit. But
let's be real, EA would be the one who would try this bullshit.
They are. They're the most corporate shit ever. And it's like, here's the thing. I don't condone this, and I don't want this to happen. But if you want to be lazy and use AI, why are you announcing it? Nobody thinks that's cool to program art. So it's not like, oh, these kids, it's not like I could just imagine a CEO saying that, oh, the kids are going to love this AI shit. It's currently new and stuff like that. But that's irrelevant. It shows how out of touch they are, because everyone has been pointing out it's soulless. That's my issue. So it's like, why would you announce that you use AI or that you're wanting to use it? Are you wanting to hype people for that shit? Because nobody's hyped.
I think, like, there's definitely room to use AI, but the problem is primarily that with AI, they aren't using it to sort of maybe cut a little bit corners, do what they can, but still have like hire on people to work on stuff and everything's all right and dandy. Instead, a lot of what they're wanting to do is program AI to essentially fulfill the roles that people they're employing do, and then essentially replace their workforce with AI, therefore cutting out a bunch of the middleman and all of their money that comes with having to pay these people, and then still make product. And considering the fact that their product's already kind of ass anyways, it is kind of a red. It's not kind of. It definitely is a red flag.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll get to that soon. But when it comes to the whole thing with Sony, yeah. Hopefully they learn their lesson soon, because right now this was a big mistake. But again, this was just the beginning. Sony fucked up for the other AAA studios to say, "Hold my fucking beer." Pull the EA article up.
The AR one, yeah, sure. Let me pull up one, and I'll actually just read it as well for y'all.
Okay.
I still have the what's it called? Weird. Altruism is pushing range. Yeah. Has seen. Oh no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. My bad. I'm sorry. Well, I'm still looking for that. Do we want to talk more about Helldivers as well? While I get a proper article.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Game. Bunny AI. Do. Hunger. There we go. Okay, I found one. Never mind. Don't worry. We don't need a tangent off. We'll pull up two different articles,
Okay.
just to make it as appropriate as we can. So this is from EA themselves, where they're like, artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies power many aspects of game development, from game testing to content creation and customization. Seed applies ML research to growing demands of AAA game testing, generating personas for games, multimedia, and then efficient ground vehicle path following in game AI. So at least this is what happens when you look up things about AI when it comes to EA specifically. And this is ea.com/tech. And right now, it kind of seems, we can do a little thing right here. So the AI is a top thing: animation, speech and language, rendering, and lighting. I would say it's kind of a slap in the face if you're using AI and making that like the top thing that you're doing for research, instead of like looking into new workflows for animation or better ways to like localize or work with speech and language. Like AI machine learning, although useful, should not be the first thing that comes up. But granted, at least it looks like here that they're talking about like AI in reference to like AIs in games. But looking at PC Gamer's article, EA Studios hunger to start using generative AI as quickly as possible, says CEO. A month ago, we reported that EA CEO Andrew Wilson should be chomping at the bit to increase the efficiency of EA Studios using generative AI tools. A return to the topic this week on a call with investors, saying that EA's developers themselves have a hunger to put AI to work on their projects. We've done analysis across all our development processes, and right now, based on our early assessments, we believe that more than 50% of our development process will be positively impacted by the advances in generative AI, said Wilson in response to a question about the technology. And we've got teams across the company really looking to execute against that. And we've got teams across the company really looking to execute against that. Wilson thinks that with 40 years worth of proprietary data to feed into generative AI models in some unspecified way, EU will increase efficiency over the next 3 years, and within 5 years or sooner, take things further by using AI and those efficiency gains to build bigger worlds with more characters and more interesting storylines. If we want to stop there, anyone got thoughts they want to say in regards to that? First off, we'll start with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for sure when it comes to AI, I don't think it should be taking over completely when it comes to being creative. Like when it comes to people using their creativity, I think it's okay to like pair it, like if you're using to enhance a little bit, like maybe like little finer details or like cleaning up something, or maybe the basis of like say you're drawing something and you use it for an outline. But I never think I never fully agree with the it taking over the whole project, because at some point it goes from being you're sitting there using your imagination to create something that's the soul of you and putting it into your art, to just being completely automated. And we saw what happened when big movie industries changed from hand-drawn movies to fully animated movies, and I've always been partial to the old school hand drawn kind of films, and so I think it definitely goes along with video games too in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, at least when we think about it, from hand drawn and then digital have like their ups and downs, and I don't think that we can deny that the
Oh yeah,
advances in digital art have been important. But it's sort of like it's going from you get hand drawn and digital, which both still need a person to do, and now it's essentially trying to cut out the person entirely to save money on the expenses that come with creating an office for these people and hiring on staff, giving them hours, and all the things that come with hiring and just having employees. And overall, at least in terms of like the language used by the CEO, it seems like really all they're doing is well, what is very clear is that there's teams against this, but also he doesn't say specifically like who is really invested in this technology and isn't specific as to what exactly this is like going to help with outside of more characters and more interesting storylines or bigger worlds. But the problem too is that he's speaking primarily to investors about this. And considering that EA stuff hasn't all been the most successful, it feels more like um, because AI is sort of like a big new fancy toy that can save the money by not hiring people, that he's essentially banking on the idea and the premise that we already know of, where it comes to AI essentially being able to do the work that people originally were doing in the past, and essentially being like, hey, if we have AI, we won't need people. That saves us money in this aspect, but then we can get more gains on one end, more likely for the upper management and the investors right here. And not only is that going to affect the quality of games, but it's also going to affect the quality of life of people in the industry as well. Because if EA, which is one of the biggest companies, is going to be using AI and essentially cutting off jobs for hundreds of games developers, then like that's going to flood the market with talent that needs to be filled somewhere. And essentially it means there's going to be less opportunities for people trying to get into the industry, because you're going to have a bunch of veterans trying to hold on to their jobs, or people who may not be veterans, but at least people who've been in the industry long enough to where they have seniority. And unless like you are extremely talented or you have like a breakaway indie hit, it's going to be even harder for you to make a career in games, in like the games industry. I was going to say games journalism, but the games industry. And like people are still wanting to do that, and like there's still people being turned out of colleges to do that. So like this is it, like it affects a lot more people than I think the CEO realizes, but maybe he does and just doesn't care.
Yeah, and like even if let's say like even if you're one of those people who are like, oh, who cares what's going on in the office, it's still like, let's say you're just a viewer. My issue is again, what's the point in the art itself if it wasn't made by someone's work? The person can't learn it. Like AI can't learn from you criticizing it. AI doesn't have any proper vision going for it. There's no effort. There's no point in actually giving praise to an art piece if it's just made by a fucking computer.
Well, the other thing too is that like I guess the philosophical question comes into play, and this is me completely playing devil's advocate for the sake of the discussion. But hypothetically, if you can feed so many different like perceptions, ideas, and reception into an AI, and from there it's able to produce art, and like those feelings about the art are then fed back into the AI, and the logic behind it and the coding behind it is tweaked so that it can learn from these things. Who's to say that we wouldn't see a piece of AI art that just completely enraptures us? And before long, we don't know. Like in theory, it's possible for AI to produce like the greatest art piece ever that like no human being could be able to produce on their own, just by the sheer nature of it being AI. But then the other question comes in: do we actually want that? And I don't think a lot of us actually want that.
No.
The thing is, that's what I'm
No.
basically saying though, is if the AI, even if like, let's say that Takashi Yamazaki came out and said Godzilla -1 was entirely produced by AI. That love I once had for the film would go away, because all the soul I was giving credit for, all the time and effort I thought the film had, would have all been just nothing. Like it would still.
Let's actually make the hypothetical a little bit more specific that you're giving. So what exactly about -1 would we say is being AI constructed?
Well, nothing in my is, but I'm just saying.
No.
Let's say
I'm
the
not
entire
saying that. I'm saying
movie-
like you're by the entire movie you mean like the actors, the sets, the actions of Godzilla, the writing, all that is completely
Yes,
AI
like
generated.
basically any aspect of the movie, like any. And I'm not referring to stuff that like just corners being cut. Like I think AI should be used for that, but
So in this case, since this is at least one I think we're all familiar with, let's say hypothetically that this is the case. Where is like what is the AI using to create all this? Like what is it feeding off of and learning from exactly? That's the next question I want to give.
can you repeat that?
So hypothetically, if Godzilla -1 was used, if Godzilla -1 was using AI and Yamazaki was the one using the AI to create -1, what exactly is the AI learning from? So like, is it pulling from Google Images or other scripts people made to produce Godzilla -1?
Could be anything, but it's still
But I
it-
like if you were to give like an answer hypothetically.
I
Let's just
guess
run through
like
the argument.
I guess like pulling from other scripts and things like that.
Were they other scripts that he made himself, or is it just other scripts
Oh,
that people didn't
if
make?
it's other scripts that he made himself, it's like that I 100% could be for, because that would
Mhm.
basically just be a complementary element, right?
Yeah, because like the point I am getting here, Tokubook says Ben Shapiro Zim Shapiro. So for the sake of argument, if we were to say that Godzilla -1 was made with AI, but it was using AI completely constructed by Yamazaki, and Yamazaki was pulling his own ideas into the AI, and he produced -1 completely using his own ideas, but was only refined through the procedures of AI, then couldn't we still say that it's still a work of art because all the AI is doing is copying what -1 and Yamazaki's pulling from on its own?
You
Um,
nailed it.
I've said,
But
Toku
what
Punk, I've said for years myself, Zim's basically like the Ben Shapiro of the kaiju community.
He is.
Yeah, but like I'm not a Jew, and I don't have the funny hats, unfortunately. The Zimika, the Zim Yamaka. But at least like hypothetically, if Yamazaki was doing his own art, doing his own storyboarding, and like pulling his own work, so like I think he did not Space Out. No, if he's pulling all of his World War II movies, his Always movies, which weren't done with AI, but he was pulling all of those stuff that he did on his own and putting them into an algorithm and an AI and essentially tweaking the AI and producing ideas that way, and all of those were his own, then the argument becomes, is it fair, I guess, because then you could say that Yamazaki has an unfair advantage because he's using AI, pumping it full of his own works, and then doing a bunch of stuff that's going to take other people and teams like much longer to do. But
I still
think that would be less of a problem in that case versus if it's pulling images and ideas from people who aren't Yamazaki, aren't being credited, and essentially passing it off as its own, which is like the big issue people have with AI art is that AI art learns from like images and things that are being cited or being referenced or being given royalties to by the original creators.
Yeah, like I'd say that hypothetical right there, I'd say that one I still wouldn't want it, but overall it would be more tolerable than the other stuff. Since again, he would still be using his own art. It would still be his creativity in some degree. Yes, it would take less talent since he didn't really work that much on it. But luckily, hypothetical aside, Takashi Yamazaki said he doesn't like AI because it doesn't come up with anything fresh.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Because like at least looking at specifically what they're saying here is that they want bigger worlds, which technically AI already does bigger worlds because procedural generation is in AI, essentially giving parameters and then constructing a world that way. So like all the Minecraft worlds that you see, like that base terrain is all done through AI. And the same done with like a lot of characters that you see in procedurally generated worlds. They aren't specifically written by a person. They aren't specifically crafted by a person, but they're characters to fill a world. So like these are already being done, but because it's related to the idea of AI art, I think this is going to turn people off in the sense where like, oh, if it's a bigger world, more characters, they probably use AI, when in reality AI has already been doing this for a long time. But it's the more interesting storylines that people are going to have an issue with, because it's not usually storylines that AI is writing. It's usually the developers writing the stories that they're doing as they're crafting the characters. And essentially, even though EA didn't do Skyrim, the best comparison I could say that they're essentially saying is that like, what if we could make Skyrim with a bigger Skyrim world with more Skyrim characters and all the storylines that you like from Skyrim? We'd be able to do that and have more interesting Skyrim storylines because we're using AI, which is what they're doing here, which is a big problem.
Yeah, like that. The issue is, it seems like they're having a bigger reliance on AI than they should, and also like, and if it's not, and even if they're only using it in bits, again, the person, the CEO was a fucking moron because he's wording it in a sense where it comes off like that. And when he starts saying that, oh, I have a hunger to use AI, it's like, why are you talking like that as a pro-consumer advantage? Like, nobody's gonna be oh boy, EA's using AI. No, nobody's doing that shit. I'd take a horribly made art over something that's just or mainly produced by a robot, because at the end of the day, at least it has soul.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron or Dragon, anything you guys have to say?
I'll let Aaron go first because I went first last time.
AI is really bad, people. I don't trust EA with this shit at all because, you know, given the track record, they've like won, I think, worst company in like the world or something a decade ago or something, and it's still relevant. I'm sorry, I don't have anything of
That's fine. That's fine.
criticism, but yeah.
EA has a reputation it does mainly because they're known for being very corporate. Like, here's the thing: like, they lack soul as it is with people. They lack soul as is with people they have working there. AI is just gonna take the slight bit of soul they do have and pull it away, and they don't have much to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. Like, coming from an artist point of view, I always like the idea that you can use things to enhance your art, but I'm also one of those artists that likes to do like physical hard copies and only one version of that copy ever. So when I make art and I see people just pumping out lots of AI stuff, it makes me want to like kind of use AI sometimes, but I haven't really made that big jump just because the whole thing about art is that you're pouring a part of your personality into it. It's you. It's something you're leaving behind for people to see who knows how long into the future after you're gone. And if you're just able to replicate that with no new ideas, like AI can only make what is available on the internet. Like it can only see and get ideas from that. The only thing I haven't really seen AI do is come up with completely original stuff. It still needs someone to put in like the prompts and stuff to do all that and get like an idea coming out. But with traditional art, you're able to literally take stuff from your dreams that don't mean anything, like just literally out of nowhere, has never existed before, and put it down on a paper and create something completely original out of that. When I think of games using AI, I think of I like the idea of how like some games are you can interact with the characters using AI is starting to come out, but when it comes to actually developing the game and coming up with like the terrain, the looks of the characters, I feel like artists should still very much be needed for that part, because you're not going to get anything new from just using AI, like you guys were saying earlier. Like, you can give it a bunch of material, but it's still going to be limited to what material you give it.
Yeah.
1 sec. I'm gonna pull something that I'm working on in the background up as a comparison to the points. But while I do that, I guess like the problem that I see is that there isn't really any good secular argument against AI or the idea that AI can't do anything original. And I'm not sure if anyone has anything quick to say in regards to that while I pull up something. Because at least like what I'm saying is that when it comes to what the AI is doing is that it's taking other ideas, repurposing them, and then putting out something that is different. And even though we argue that it's not original, by all intents and purposes, it is, in the sense where it is fundamentally different from what we put into the prompts to create the AI art in the first place. Versus with a person, we're all shaped by our experiences, and we all have our own ideas and opinions on things. And what we are doing is that we are taking the ideas, experiences, and things that we perceive and producing something that is different from what we are perceiving, thinking, and doing, but changing it through the lens of our own prompts in our head. So I guess like in my opinion, it comes down to whether like we don't give AI the same courtesy that we do people in that sense. And from like a feeling that like people are sacred, everyone's important, kind of, I can understand that point. But from a secular standpoint, where like we're just biological functions, the idea that AI is just ones and zeros doesn't have the same kind of protection. I guess, if that makes sense to anyone.
No, that makes perfect sense, because I do agree that, yeah, it does make original content. That's why when people say that AI is theft, it's not. It's just because artists take inspiration from other stuff too. Like I pointed out all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just my issue. Like I can acknowledge if AI art comes out actually very impressive, but the
Yeah.
issue is, my issue with it is, again, it's the origin itself, because there's no soul or craftsmanship in it. It was just artificially produced, and that's something that just doesn't feel right to me as a major film buff and, well, nerd. Like I like to consider myself a critic of art and stuff like that. Like I'm a major fan of art, particularly movies, shows, video games, and all that, and I'm passionate about what goes into it. So when you don't have all of that, it just feels like you're watching a bunch of nice colors do stuff on a screen, but there's nothing behind it. There's nothing to analyze. There's nothing else there other than
I would
what you're...
say, like in that case too, could it then be argued? Will we then argue then that a person who makes stories mechanically, regardless of their mechanical quality or even how much they affect someone emotionally, would you say then that those aren't art because they didn't put like their heart and soul into it? They just are really good writers on a technical level, and because they're good writers on a technical level, they're able to produce art in a way that, even if it's not like from the bottom of their heart, can still produce emotion.
Well, the difference is that person still had a vision in their mind and something they were going for. They felt no emotional connection to what they were making, but still, in order to make it and to make it come out as good as it did, they weren't just having a bunch of stuff happen. Like they had intention and nuance to analyze there.
Well, I guess like in that case too, again, playing devil's advocate, couldn't it be argued then that even though a person may not have like a talent for writing themselves, but if they give an AI prompts in the sense where increased dramatic tension, reference the hero's journey, or like page so and so from Joseph Campbell, and the AI is then creating a story based on what it understands and interprets, what Joseph Campbell has said about like the ideas of the hero's journey and like the idea of stories resonating with us, and then produces a story from that way. Wouldn't that functionally, if not technically, be the same thing? Because it is the person who is giving the prompts to the AI, but giving it a criteria that they feel is putting their heart and soul into something.
There is that, but still, again, it loses this. Like, there's technically still some intention and soul being put into it, but again, while they're giving it orders to replicate something, what makes an analyzation of a story so good is generally there was effort to produce to make it where you can read that intention. That's the thing. Like, if I'm able to read the intention of what a character is feeling, that's usually thanks because of that's a praise because of the solid performance by the actor and the lines and direction that was given to them.
Wouldn't you still also say that there is direction there because the person who's creating an AI generated story isn't necessarily doing it in one shot? There could be many mistakes or many things they feel don't emotionally resonate. And let's just say they take a certain not a script reading, a certain line from their script and say that this doesn't work. Let's run through this again. From this line here, reference the entire story and then like put in a few things about like analyzing the psychology of the character more, or like running down a diagnostic of what the character's feeling in these ways. Explain it to me. The AI explains it to them, and then be like, change it to fulfill this instead. And therefore, the AI changes it, and then they put in the script there. Would you still say there is an intentionality there either, or?
Okay, there is some intentionality there, but again, it's only a portion of it. Like, you have a portion of it. You don't have the full thing. While when you have a writer, actor, director, and all that into one, you have the full soul. Here, you just have a portion of it. That's it, and that's my problem.
Well, like, let's just say about books then, because in the case of a book, you usually just have the writer and the editor. And in this case, the AI is the writer, what would be the writer is now just the editor. So in that case, like, you have that. But then like another Gentle probably has something to say.
What's up,
You're
Gentle?
all good. I was gonna say, I'd say a big thing that you guys are trying to get across is art isn't just the mechanical, like it's not you just editing the things. Art is as much of a subconscious journey as it is a conscious journey. So what someone like you guys were saying earlier is sitting there and writing mechanically and they just feel like they have no emotion to it, there's still the subconscious part of them that's coming out into their art. They're still putting hours of their time and hours of motivation, sometimes even days, weeks, months, depending on how complicated one piece or writing style is. And one thing that I think AI could never replicate is a brand new art style. So when I was saying earlier, AI is only limited to the references that's available to it. I meant not that they can't come up with like new pictures that you've never seen before, but they can't come up with their own original art style that no one's seen before. That, in my view, only an artist can really truly achieve, because life is all about experiences, and no one's ever going to see the universe or the world or whatever you see from your point of view at that time, except for you. That's always going to be something only you will ever be able to relate to, is what experiences you are having in the moment, which AI can't do because it doesn't have a one individual experience, but a large network of references that are inspired by other people's experiences, but still not able to convey what a person is feeling. So, for example, like if you got someone with, like, say, PTSD or depression, and they throw themselves into the art, it's going to look very different from someone who's never been diagnosed with anything and also does art. The art styles vary so much based on someone's experiences and what they've been through, and that's what bleeds into the art.
Well said, Gentle. That's actually, like, I was trying to say something along those lines, but you said it better and also added even more to the discussion.
I would say, like, in that case too, like I agree with the point that you're making, and I'm only arguing against it just to see where it logically goes. In that case, could we then say that even if um a artificial intelligence begins with references, and the more it produces and the more reception that it receives from the work that it does, and it references the work that it's produced on its own and essentially becomes referential on its own, could there then be a form of a simulated experience that it is doing because it is responding to the reception of the people responding to what it's already produced?
I feel like if AI could, which I'm not saying it's a good idea, just for argument's sake, I'm saying if AI had the capacity to feel emotions and pain and experience to the same level that the human body is able to experience, maybe it would be able to come up with something on the same level when it comes to like new styles, new emotion, being able to portray like what something truly feels like in a art piece, maybe. But then again, we go down the road of whether that's morally right or even smart to do, if giving emotions to AI is even a good idea in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I for one welcome our robot overlords. I welcome the I have no mouth and I must scream future.
Don't get me wrong, I think AI is absolutely fascinating. I use it a lot for like research purposes or to just get like a workflow going, but I never use it to create my own stuff. With the exception of one time I used like this visual um like app to, I think it was like DaVinci or something. I'm not sponsored, but like I used it to get the outline of something because I was trying to do realism art and I didn't have a glow table because those are expensive and the app was cheap.
Mhm.
But when it comes to actually making the art, I feel like the idea and the actual work on like the big, um, in the long run, the work you're putting into it is what gives the art value, not
Agreed.
yeah, it's all like what you put into it. Because for
The
me, like
journey
for
rather
someone
than
like,
like the art on its own.
yeah, it's about the journey, not the destination. It's all about putting yourself into the art and being able to, like, for someone like me, I use it to process a lot of stuff. And if you take a huge, very competitive, um man, what's the word I'm looking for? A competitive industry like art or music or gaming, or gaming design, it takes away a lot of, I'm sorry, just say I'm getting my train of thought again. If you take a highly competitive industry like all of the stuff I just mentioned, and you replace the artists themselves with AI, a lot of people are going to be less motivated to make art, and that takes a lot away from the actual processing abilities that art helps people get through stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Art,
exactly.
yeah,
Well, I would
I
say
could
too,
probably
like
word it better, but
in that case, I'd probably say that we just have different standards for things because, like, we don't consider like handcrafted worlds to be on the same level as like procedurally generated worlds because we understand that there's more time and effort that goes into a handcrafted experience like Skyrim, Morrowind, or like the Fallout games, Far Cry's, etc., versus a procedurally generated world like any Minecraft seed that you put in or No Man's Sky, for example.
oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
like all of that is already like because we have AI working in the industry already. It's like a matter of like where it's being used.
Yeah. I think when it comes to art, AI is a good thing, but it should be a supplement to make the work easier. It should only be used in small bursts. It's not a replacement. It should not be used as a replacement.
Oh
Um,
no,
but when
Mhm.
it comes, so I'm not against it being involved with art, but it needs to be just a supplement. Like for example, like even when I make my thumbnails for my content, I use AI to remove the background of stuff, so I don't have to go through the tedious process of doing my own thing, removing it, and AI usually does well. I've also used AI to colorize black and white images for my thumbnails, but it is my own hands that puts the entire thumbnail together, or in this case, I had Zim make it. Because,
Yeah.
well, Zim's
So
an
like,
art.
what was it? AI is. So I forget who says this quote, but there's like art imitates life and life imitates art, or no, life imitates art. What happens when you take art away from life?
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Tokubon
Well, I guess
Productions.
it's probably like one of those things too where we just don't know because like we're stepping into so much like uncharted territory that no one else like on the planet has ever had to deal with in like all of human history. So like the psychological implications of something that isn't human taking over a industry that's primarily fueled by human experiences, um, we don't necessarily know, I guess.
Yeah. Tokubon Productions says AI is good for translation. The only one transitioning here is Meatbag.
We all know you love it, Joey. You
um,
love it.
AI is only good for translation and research. By research, I meant work with my mom uses for her job. Yeah, AI is good for all that. Like some people bitch about AI subtitles in foreign media. If the subtitles are accurate, I don't care. Like,
Yeah, well, like I would say, like in a lot of cases, some like AI can kind of filter out bad actors because like there's a big issue with localizers and having
yeah,
translations essentially mean the same thing, but like when you actually have more direct translations, the implied meaning is different. So like an AI having a more neutral translation of the work allows probably for a more direct consuming of the art and the intent behind the art versus a localizer who may want to specifically say something with a line because of their own personal biases, which is different from the ideas and biases of the person who produced the art in the first place.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I'd argue when it comes to like it has to be an accurate AI software. I'd argue an accurate AI software is better than a human being because again,
Mm-hmm.
subtitles aren't art. That's the thing. Subtitles are so you could experience the original art in the way it was intended, with while also not having to go through learning the language. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why when it comes to AI subtitles and it turns out accurate, I don't care. People make a big deal out of it, the virtue signal. Again, I don't care because again, if the subtitles are accurate, that's all that matters. Like God.O, the latest God.O series on YouTube, they use AI subtitles. Subtitles were damn good.
Mm. I think actually, one second, if I'm gonna do a screen share real quick of something, if it lets me do it. So it's waiting for you to pull up, Joey. So like this is like an old art piece that I did where I specifically I had a reference that I used. The reference, is it there? Yeah, the reference is there. So essentially a lot of it was using that as reference versus for another background that I was doing. I just decided, you know what, let's just see what the AI pulls out, and it pulled out this. And for me, if I'm doing like an actual art piece and what I care about is totally the like how the character is positioned in like the frame, and I want to tell a story with the piece, I'm gonna want to try to just do it on my own. And I think that like what I went for, I'm happy with what I got versus with things like this, for example. The point is less to do with the background and more to do with showcasing the actual art that I am doing there, where everything else is the part of like me in that sense. If that explains it for like my stance on things, where almost all the art that I'm doing is my own, and like anything I do to supplement it with AI is purely to keep sure my art is at the foreground. So like even this thing I was doing for a Godzilla, the Godzilla is mine. The little light background there is mine, but the background is AI. But the background really doesn't matter to me. What does matter is the main piece of art that I'm showing, which is the Godzilla piece, which I am proud of.
Yeah, like
So,
use AI as a supplement, as it should.
mm-hmm.
Tokupunk Production said Soy Jack Professor Otaku.
Oh
You
yeah,
noticed your
the
depiction.
what's it called? Yeah, the anime has fallen.
Show
Billions must be
show the
purged.
audience that for a quick second.
Yeah, one sec. Let me pull that up.
Because that was a perfect depiction. We're still gonna use that for our video on a response for.
That should be ready for you right there to pull up. Joey, that's what's it called? You can bring that up. It's ready. Or did Joey die? He died. Aaron, it's so sad that Joey died of ligma.
He got lumbago.
Ligma balls. Boom. Oh, if Joey dies, that means I get his stuff. So that's good. I appreciate that.
Wait, you responded to somebody?
No, well, what's it
Because
called?
here it
Joey
is.
said the pull up. Oh, nope. Joey's back.
No, but I was like, I can't hear it. It's gotten sus.
The Chuds have won. The West has fallen. Billions must be purged. I love the fact that I was actually able to replicate the style almost perfectly.
And there it is. You nailed it.
Is he wearing like a bike helmet or some shit? What the hell?
I never knew what I thought it was like a beanie or something. But like, yeah, I'd say the only thing that's kind of inaccurate is that his like the male one has like the white thing there. But I noticed when I did it, it didn't come out as good, so I just based it off of that one where it's a complete black line. But yeah, the Chuds have taken over the anime. The West has fallen. Billions must die. As well as for anyone who's in the
That is
server,
fucking
I did
amazing.
put that in the server as an emoji you guys can use. But
Yep.
we can actually go through the rest of,
Any-
of that EA article as well if you want.
So if any of you ever get offended by our antics, feel free to use the Professor Otaku server if our antics
There you
offend
go.
you.
Yeah, so going down as well, we'll just read the rest of this. It was, of course, just a couple of years we were hearing the games industry execs about the great potential of the blockchain and the metaverse. Not so much anymore. For his part, Wilson didn't go as all in on crypto as some of his peers, calling NFTs an important part of the future of our industry. Then later saying that collectability in general is what's important. Still, it bears repeating that executives are prone to overexcitement about tech they can hold up as a new magic bullet or holy grail, as Wilson put it. Generative AI used genuinely is spreading through the games industry, though earlier this year, the Game and Developers Conference published the results of a survey which indicated that 31% of game developers already use generative AI. AI tools are mostly used for business, marketing, and management purposes, but 25% said that their studios involve generative AI in programming, and 21% said it was used in game design at their company. Despite its growing acceptance by studio managers, most individual game developers are concerned about the ethics of using generative AI. 42% of the GDC survey's respondents said they were very concerned about the issue. Another 42% said that they were somewhat concerned, and only 12% said that they weren't concerned at all. To some degree, Wilson is probably referring to AI tools that are less sensational and controversial than voice and image generators, which have been accused of simultaneously stealing from and replacing or diluting creative work. Some developers are, for instance, using AI to automate more tedious tasks like rigging 3D models. His predictions go far beyond efficiency gains, though. Wilson said last month that he foresees generative AI not just being an internal development tool, but also something that'll be used by 3 billion players around the world to create their own EA game content. He restated that outlook this week. I want to address that later after I finish through the rest of this. And perhaps on a 5-year plus time horizon, said Wilson. We think about how do we take all those tools we create and offer those to the community at large so that we can actually get new and interesting and innovative and different types of game experiences. Again, not to replace what we do, but to augment, enhance, extend, expand the nature of what interactive entertainment can be in much the way YouTube did for traditional film and television. I think machine learning does have more transformative potential than the blockchain stuff ever did, but I don't have the confidence a game industry exec does to claim to know what and in what way it'll bear out. One thing I wonder is how much joy players will actually find in using or interacting with generative AI. Already, it seems like the novelty has worn off AI image generators. You don't see so many. I asked an AI what such and such looks like, posts go viral anymore. Now it seems like they're just being used to cut corners, make propaganda photos, and trick Facebook scrollers into saying wow under fake interior design pictures. In related news, Wilson also said during this week's investor calls that the next Battlefield game will be a tremendous live service. So, yeah, tremendous live service. That sucks. I haven't played Battlefield in years, but at least the create their own EA game content. What I know a lot of people talk about with like the value of AI is that if the AI is tailor made to you and your experiences, that you could create art specifically for yourself that is going to be the most amazing art you've ever seen. And I just realized Joey is gone. So yeah, the stream is mine. I rule these lands now. You all answer to me. Me.
Ah,
I
we
will
have
now rule the world.
No.
I get 2 channels for the price of 1. My power is now undeniable. But while I fill the air for Joey in that case, but yeah, I think that like a lot of people hype up this idea that the AI is going to be able to tailor made itself to the user and essentially produce their own like mini games for themselves, which I don't think AI is going to be that advanced anytime soon, though. Oh, welcome back, Joey.
Yeah,
I took
don't
over your
think so
stream, so now it's mine by right of conquest.
But yeah, I don't think it's gonna go to that extreme either. I just don't want it becoming a core thing where people are just saying that, hey, do this for me, instead of putting the actual effort in.
Give me big booty Latinas. AI produce big booty Latina mod now, and therefore I make the ultimate game ever. There you go. Maybe I am actually turned on this AI motivation thing here.
Oh,
I mean, Joey, think about it. You could have anything you want, Joey. The perfect Asian, just like you always dreamed of.
I can ask for your mom, but then again, I could just get the real woman.
Well, what's it called? One, you can't handle her, and 2, she's not your type anyway. So, ooh. And we all know that you already like to take it from the back on stream. So, I think that's a fight you're not going to win, big boy.
But yeah, anything more we have to add to the AI discussion?
Not particularly, unless someone else got something.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, when it comes to replacing artists, I think not a great idea, but I also do see that AI can have value for, like, say, those people who would never hire an artist to make something in the first place, but still wanted something for, like their thumbnail or something. If someone is incapable, yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it can help speed run someone's like career for like say for example streaming, and they don't plan on ever getting into art, or don't have the funds to pay for a commission from an artist. I think it could be very useful, and I know a lot of people do use it that way. The only thing I'm always a little sketched out about is that I don't want the art to, like, original art from people themselves to completely disappear.
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially if you're selling this AI, it's like, if you're putting the bare minimum of effort to make your art, why should people be giving you money? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
there?
I feel you on that.
Oh, yeah.
What? I guess Aaron died.
I think she died.
No,
Oh,
I can
no.
hear her fine. It's just Aaron
Oh,
I can't
shit.
hear.
I'm alive.
Oh,
I
you're
am
allowed
here,
to.
guys. Can you hear me? I'm stuck in your pocket. That was my ringtone.
I was about to say something
Okay.
stolen out of the pocket.
I was making a ringtone joke. I used to have a ringtone that was like, "Let me out. I'm stuck in your pocket." It was really annoying. I had to change it. Not as
The
annoying
only
as
thing
my
you're
alarm.
stuck in is Aaron's basement.
I'm
Well,
stuck
Joey,
in
we all
the
know that you're not
basement,
stuck. You
guys.
like it down there.
What, Gentle?
I'm stuck in the basement, guys.
We
Yeah,
Send
beat 'em.
gotta save her from Aaron.
But looks like there's the Xbox One. Do we want to cover the Xbox One or nah?
I mean, why shouldn't we? That's the big thing.
Well, I'm
of
asking,
this.
do you want? Is there anything else you want to cover about the AI stuff? Or no, we're good to go over to the Xbox stuff.
I have nothing else to add to the AI conversation. I feel like the
Uh-huh.
one who has most to add on it is probably you and Dragon, since you're both the artists here. I'm just some dickhead with a microphone.
I mean, that's the only part of you that actually has one. So there you go.
Hey, Gentle, I have a question. When you hopped into this podcast, did you expect all the roasting?
Oh, bro, I was in the infantry for 3 years. I've heard it all.
Well, let's call it. She was in the infantry. Then she's heard way worse.
Yes, way worse.
I
We
mean,
have
like
to.
the only way that it's getting like close to infantry levels is if I start making a ton of war crime jokes.
Yeah. Oh
I've
god.
heard them too.
Or what's it call it?
Well,
Threaten to
they're
throw the
thinking of
private onto
that.
a IED.
Yeah, me personally, I'm not gonna repeat any of the jokes I've heard because some of them are like pretty fucking bad.
They'd probably get us taken down.
That's
Yeah,
why I love the army.
that's the big reason why.
I was about to scream Semper Fi, but that's the Marines, not the Army, and I have some self-respect for myself.
Doomzilla said Microsoft. Did you have to describe Aaron's dick like that?
I mean, what's it called, Joey? Was that joke made with AI? Because that was unoriginal right there. Maybe you
it
do need
was.
the AI for your better roast, boy. But let's see. Xbox shutting down 4 Bethesda studios. So it's Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roundhouse. So
Wait, hold up. They're shutting down Bethesda workshops and they still haven't gotten Elder Scrolls 6 out.
Well, no, they're shutting down. These studios were under Bethesda's, like Bethesda and ZeniMax, so they aren't like the main Bethesda team that's working on Fallout or Elder Scrolls.
Oh, get me my Elder Scrolls 6, god damn it!
I agree with that.
But when it comes to this whole thing with Xboxes, let's be honest, like, I love my Xbox. I've been defending it for a while because they still have been taking some W's with their fuckload of L's, and I didn't like the whole console war thing. I still think Sony ponies are fucking pathetic. I love my Xbox and my PlayStation and my Nintendo Switch, but it's sometimes you just gotta put your foot down and realize when a company it's going down to hell, because they've had a W from what I heard with Hi-Fi Rush. They've had a W with what I've heard Pal World, as again that's on PC, but in console wise it was only on the Xbox. You have Halo Infinite's a great game now, but when it was first released, while the core game was solid, it was lacking content drastically, and it would release games unfinished. Like Sea of Thieves was released unfinished, but again, Sea of Thieves I've heard is a great game now. But
Yeah, I just downloaded it.
Huh?
I just downloaded it.
Yeah, like I've heard it's great in its current state. But here's an L they've been taking for a while. It seems like they're going for a third-party publisher thing because they put Sea of Thieves, what's the word I'm looking for? Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, and a few other games that I can't remember on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. Which, in one sense, it's good that more people get to play these games. On the other, it's just coming to a point where they're giving their W games to all platforms and giving people less of a reason to buy an Xbox. And it's like, if you want to become a third-party publisher, by all means, When it comes to the whole thing, like if we're going to the next generation and Microsoft doesn't make another console, I would say go for it. Release third-party games. Because again, people wouldn't have already bought the new console. And also, again, while I do like the tradition of buying an Xbox, a PlayStation, and whatever Nintendo's making, more people get to play the game. So loss of exclusivity would be good in that regard. But since they're doing it in this generation, it's making it where the people who put their money for an Xbox just kind of wasted it. And they say they're not going to do much more, but I feel like they are going to put other games like Halo on there at some point, which, I don't know, that it just makes it where, as someone who owns all three consoles, it's going to make my Xbox more and more useless, and that bothers me in that regard. And I know we made fun of Sony ponies that were crying about like games going on PC, but here's the thing: those Sony ponies, they only have the PlayStation. They don't have a PC or anything. Yet they're complaining about their games going multiplat. As someone who owns all of them, it's like, why did I spend money on that one thing if I can just buy those games on my PS5?
So let me do some reading then. Microsoft is shutting down 4 of the studios it picked up as part of the 2020 Bethesda acquisition, as reported by IGN. The 4 studios include Arcane Austin, maker of last year's disappointing Redfall, and Tango Gameworks, the studio behind Hi-Fi Rush, Ghostwire Tokyo, and The Evil Within. Beyond that pair, Mighty Doom developer Alpha Dog Studios and Human Head Software successor Roundhouse Games are also shutting down. With the case of Hi-Fi Rush, that was like a big success. I don't know really what Ghostwire's numbers were. I haven't heard too much about it. And then The Evil Within, I just wasn't a fan of, so I never played it. And like with Arcane, it's really clear that like they really messed up when it came to Redfall. Yeah.
When it comes to Hi-Fi Rush, they were boasting about Hi-Fi Rush doing good. In terms of Ghostwire Tokyo, I think it did well because they were in talks of a sequel, and I know a lot of people do like the game. I still want to play it myself, but so I think in that regard that is disappointing. And in terms of Evil Within, I personally love the first 2 Evil Within games. I own them both on PlayStation. I think they're awesome. And apparently they were in talks of releasing an Evil Within 3, according to an insider. And that's not happening now. And that could have been some good money. They shut that down. And Arcane, the thing about them, while they released Redfall, which I hear is fucking garbage, Arcane as a whole, I hear, is a really good company with the games they make. And the game like Redfall, they originally did not want to finish that. Someone involved even told someone at Xbox, I think it was, I don't really know how to make a multiplayer-based game. But since Xbox was like, go ahead and make it anyway, it ended up coming out, and we saw how that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So it's like...
But I think like one of the other Arcane studios is still there. I think Arcane Austin was just one of the Arcane studios.
Doomzilla said, what? YouTube ate my content? What I said was metaphorical, not literally. What did you say in particular? Because, like, I've been looking at the chat every now and then, but I have ADHD, so a lot of my focus is going on the discussion and going on in the video and such. Mm-hmm. But yeah, YouTube could be.
But yeah, there's also there's the French Arcane Studios, and then there's the Austin one. Whoops, I brought that on screen. My bad. So it's just it's specifically the Texas studio that's going under. It looks like, which isn't good either way. But in an email to staff, Xbox Game Studios head Mike Booty,
as Griffin Gaming said, an appropriate name.
Mm-hmm. Reportedly said that the company was closing the developers in order to focus resources on high-impact titles and the rest of Bethesda's portfolio of games, which I guess that probably means they're going to be having them... the best case scenario would be that like they get jobs at like the main Bethesda studio and they're helping like work on like the next Elder Scrolls game, for example, or like they consolidate and like they get more people to work on like another Prey sequel, I guess maybe, because I think the Arcane that shut down was one that also worked on Prey too. But to double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities that are best positioned for success. Booty said. This reprioritization of titles and resources means a few teams will be realigned to others and that some of our colleagues will be leaving us. So yeah, it looks like some are probably going to get enrolled into new projects while a few others are going to get losing their jobs, which sucks.
Yeah.
Booty said that some of the Arcane Austin's developers will be moved to other Bethesda studios, while the entire team at Roundhouse will become part of ZeniMax Online Studios to work on the Elder Scrolls Online. That's kind of annoying because like essentially, like I played ESO a little bit here and there. I'm not super big into it, but going from like not independent, but like a studio all of its own making its own projects to then being another cog in a MMO machine definitely is gonna like hit a few people, because the only reason why ESO is still making money is because of the expansions and then all of like the in-game store stuff.
Yeah. Doomzilla, you should try typing comment without swear words, because that probably is why YouTube is eating it. That's something I noticed. Like, I've written a lot of very edgy and foul language YouTube comments. Sometimes they stay up, other times they don't. So
yeah, it's definitely if you're edgy enough and then there's no one in the chat to actually show or allow your post, then that's why it's not showing up.
I need
But
to start
I'll just read
adding,
the last part.
YouTube. I need to start adding moderators. I'm gonna make you one of them later.
Yeah, I'll have to do that for you on my channel later as well. But in addition to the studio closures, Booty said a small number of people in Bethesda publishing and corporate roles will also be laid off. Well, at least some of the corporate people are going, so there's that. But as for the games these teams have been working on, Redfall will not receive any more content updates, and those who purchased the Heroes Pass DLC, which was advertised as including 2 yet-to-be-made playable characters, will be receiving an unspecified make good of some sort. As for Alpha Dog's cute mobile top-down shooter Mighty Doom, that game will be sunset August 7th. Microsoft announced in January that it would be laying off 1,900 people from its games division. Microsoft declined our request for clarification as to whether these cuts are part of that round of layoffs or in addition to it. So maybe there's going to be another round of layoffs, which is really bad. And then the other problem too is I know that the people behind Hi-Fi Rush, which was Tango Gameworks, I remember in like an old interview, Phil Spencer said that they wanted to expand more into the Asian market, but then they're closing down like their only Japanese-based game studio, which sucks. But like with the situation in Japan, hopefully that means that like the people in Japan are just gonna get sucked into new development studios over in Japan instead of having to worry about like a Western like company sort of owning them in that aspect.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I've been wanting to see Xbox succeed again. Like, again, I have no part in the console war. I think it's fucking stupid. It's been a tradition ever since I was a kid to get a PlayStation, an Xbox, and whatever it is Sony cooked up. I mean, not Sony. Nintendo. Yeah, Nintendo cooked up. But again, with all how this is going down, it's hitting a point where there's almost no reason to buy an Xbox because they're putting their good games on other hardware besides like PC's fine. There's a lot of people who just play console gamers, and PlayStation's doing the same thing. But when it's going that far, it's like, why are you still selling Xbox on the market then? It's like, yeah, they still have Starfield, but Starfield is mixed with people. You would have been better putting that on PlayStation than the actual well-received games like Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush, games that are highly praised. And now you have them shutting down their studios with that are Japanese. And I would love to see more Japanese games on the Xbox because again, more variety, and again, also more sales in Japan. Many people think this is out of malicious intent from Phil Spencer. Here's the thing: I like Phil Spencer's personality. Some people think he's fake. I think he genuinely cares. But here's my issue. I don't think he's cut to be a CEO. I think he's been killing the Xbox brand. He's been slowly giving up. He's been making all these decisions that are giving people less reasons to buy one. and the successful stuff he does have on the console getting taken away from it, and now he's firing the companies who was making those successful games, and he basically just admitted defeat a while ago. Like, ever since he took over, it's just been really going down.
Yeah, like it really does seem like the Xbox after, like with the launch of the Xbox One, that they've slowly, not only were they not able to recover from the competition with Sony at that point, that they've slowly been kind of pushing their way out of the console market. And it does make me wonder where the future of like a lot of their exclusives are going to be, if they're not going to be like a console studio anymore, with like Microsoft essentially axing their games division, which for me, it's sort of like I'm in transitioning to PC slowly and slowly. I still like playing with a controller, and when it comes to all the controllers I've ever used, I still prefer the Xbox layout compared to the PlayStation one, just in terms of where the joysticks land. But it does make you wonder, because when it came to like the Xbox, the PlayStation 2 / PlayStation 3, and the GameCube, they all had their unique identities there with like, the games they had exclusive on those consoles. And the competition definitely bred innovation in those aspects. And we saw that with the 360, the 3, and the Wii. And the Wii obviously went off and did its own thing, and it did well in that aspect, and where the Xbox and PlayStation had their back and forth. But you did see a lot more cross-platform games at that time, but there was still like a lot of identity that you got from whether you got an Xbox versus whether you got PlayStation. But the Xbox really fumbled the bag with the Xbox One, and even after the one, the innovations from the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 is like understandable. It's like a little bit better than like what you got from like the Xbox One to the Xbox like One S. So, because like even I remember when the PS5 and the Xbox One S were coming out, I had already gotten my PlayStation 5 at the time, and I was waiting to just pick up a game I got on Black Friday, and they ran out PS5s way quicker than they did Xbox One S's, or even the Xbox One S's that had specifically like no disc holder. It was just like digital versions. And it really does say something like how poorly Xbox has handled not just like its console, but also its franchises like Halo.
Yeah. Before I respond to that, I'm going to respond to something from Brandon in the comments. He said, "Hey Joey, check your messages. I'll do that later." And also, Brandon, Tokupunk is not me. I'm Joey. I'm Gojin. Gojin the Makai Phantom. He's not Joey. He wishes he was me. He does. But
Not much to aspire to, if you ask me. Oh.
fuck you. But
No, I'm straight. Thank you very much.
well, I was gonna bring up Aaron, but he identifies as a woman.
Yeah, well, let's go. That's why
You
like saying it all
identify
the
as a
time.
little bitch.
Okay, well, here's what I was gonna say about the whole thing with the Xbox. When it comes to a lot of the stuff, they have been going downhill these past couple of years, as you said, ever since the Xbox One. Though I will argue, the Xbox One did have some solid exclusives, even though they had Halo 5 and stuff like that was dragging the Halo series down. You still had solid games like Sunset Overdrive, and there was some others that I've played at the time on the Xbox One, but as a whole, they weren't doing enough. And then the Series X, they started slowing down on producing exclusives and giving less reason to play. Then they made Game Pass, which was cool and all, but I think there was poor ways of them handling that too, because again, making it where Xbox games are there. Like, I'm all for Xbox games being on Game Pass, but I don't think they should have been there day one for the rest of their life, because that makes it where your motivation to buy games like Doom, Halo, and all that physically is lowered, and buying them digitally is borderline pointless. Like, I was planning to buy Doom physical at some point, and I still am. I'm planning to buy Halo Infinite physically, but I would have bought them a long time ago if I didn't have constant access to them through Game Pass. And I do think Game Pass has fucked up a lot of their sales. And I don't think Game Pass is a bad thing overall. Game Pass is a wonderful concept. It has a lot of cool stuff on it, even though the past couple months they haven't been adding a lot of new stuff. But they needed to handle it different. And now at this point, it just comes off like Phil Spencer is desperate to come up with a new idea to save this brand from drowning in its own sorrow. And he's just making it worse every fucking time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that. I have always been an Xbox person since my dad first brought home the first Xbox when I was little, and I used to play all the Halos on it. And I currently have, what was it, Xbox Series X, and I don't know if it's a TV issue, a Netflix issue, or my Xbox, but I can say that my Xbox has been freezing up my Netflix almost every time I play something with high resolution, I think. And when it comes to the game choices on there, I like having my Xbox. I like having all that. But I have been slowly building a computer so that I can move to PC also, because the game consoles have just slowly been getting... I think they got like less of a diversity when it comes to games, I think, like you guys were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to be able that, and with a computer you can make mods and stuff yourself. I
Yeah,
definitely like to into.
I feel like that's something game consoles should really add, because game consoles are gradual. Like, here's a big reason why I'm a console guy over a PC guy. I'm a collector. I like physical copies, but I always loved the concept of mods. And the fact that game consoles
I
are
mean,
Huh?
You can. I mean, you can do it with Fallout 4 and Skyrim on Xbox.
Aren't you limited which mods?
Yeah, really limited though.
Yeah, like I think stuff like Xbox and PlayStation, I don't think they're utilizing their hardware like they should. As the new consoles, ever since the PS4 and Xbox One, have been like they have been like PCs. So I don't see why they can't do it.
I think the thing with like PCs is that like, unlike with consoles, where like when you hear the word game console, you know it's specifically designed for video games, but now there are a bunch of other features you can get with your console, such as like a Blu-ray player and stuff. Whereas with a PC, when you just hear PC, you think of a computer. A lot of computers can run games, but not a lot of computers can actually run games well. And the PC gaming market is the identity of that market is built on the idea of customizing a machine and making it like totally whacked out with its specs. Whereas there are pre-built PCs, there's just not like a whole lot of good resources to explain to people like what makes a good pre-built. And then like there's an issue with a lot of people cutting corners on pre-built. Whereas with consoles, even though like most consoles are going to be below even like shoddy pre-built PCs, there's at least a general understanding of like serviceable quality with consoles, to where the average person's like, okay, me buy console, me put thing in console, me play game. Whereas with PC, you're like, you don't know if like the drivers that they use for this were kind of messed up, even though it's a pre-built in the sense where someone's building it for you. They're still the one buying the parts and constructing it themselves and then giving it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and as you pointed out, yeah, consoles can also play Blu-rays and stuff. Because here's the thing, I don't own a Blu-ray player, but I own a lot of Blu-rays in 4K disc, which run on my PS5 and Xbox Series X. So again, there's that if you have a PC.
I mean, wouldn't it technically still be a Blu-ray player if it could play all that?
Yeah, it's a Blu-ray player, but it's not. I mean, I don't have something that's called a Blu-ray player. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, even in like, if we're thinking about everything, we have like several DVD players, some we just don't use. But like, in my room, I specifically have a dedicated Blu-ray player. Whereas like downstairs in like our main living room, we have the PS5 down there, as well as the main Xbox One we have. And then we have another, like an older model Xbox One downstairs in our theater room that plays Blu-rays. So like, if someone's asking me like what it is like I'm gaining from like console gaming, it's that I'm probably getting a PlayStation 5 because there's not going to be everything on PlayStation 5 is going to be on PC, but almost everything I care about Xbox wise is going to be on PC. So I'll have a PC for everything else but PlayStation 5 stuff or just PlayStation stuff, and get like a Nintendo Switch because that I can carry everywhere. Although with the Steam Deck now, that's going to start to change, but Nintendo doesn't have all of its stuff everywhere else. So Nintendo still has the benefit of exclusivity.
Yeah, because like I said, after this generation of consoles is over, well, it's a complicated situation because on one hand, I would kind of miss the aesthetic of getting all three consoles. On the other, though, more people would get to play a game I consider great. But during this generation, no, don't do that. People already bought your fucking thing. I just think people need to fire Phil Spencer. Because I like him. I think he's got a nice personality. But he's got a nice, charismatic personality that is a good image for the place. Well, I didn't like Jim Ryan of PlayStation. I feel like he was running Sony better than Phil Spencer is Xbox. And
Well, that's
a
probably
shame.
the thing is that like Phil's just kind of a pretty face at that point if he really can't actually get things under control with Xbox and he's making all these promises to the investors, then sort of like why bother?
Yeah, like I think he's a likable individual, but not a good businessman, and that's a shame. That's why, while it hurts me to say it, since I do like his personality, I think he should be fired because he's not running the brand right. I can't think of a W they've had since I don't know Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like when it comes to PlayStation, they've had some L's, but at the same time, one, they like here's the thing. I think when it comes to putting Xbox games even on PC, it shouldn't be there day one. It should do like PlayStation does and take time for it. And you shouldn't put it on other consoles in general unless if you have well, and if you plan on running a console. And also, their exclusives just been mostly lacking, with again Hi-Fi Rush, Power World, and all of them just being exceptions. Well, PlayStation,
Well,
on the
Power
other
World isn't
hand,
an exclusive either.
it's on PC and Xbox, so it's a console exclusive.
It's a
But
console exclusive, but like that's the thing is that like since it's on PC too, if someone's gonna decide they're gonna get a PC and one console, they're gonna get a PlayStation because it's
yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
even if we're talking about like their exclusives too, where things that we're trying to sell consoles, like MCC and then Demon Souls would be the perfect examples of like console sellers like for me because I remember when we got the Xbox One, the big thing was that there was like the rumors of a Halo like Ultimate Collection coming out to be on the Xbox One, and you had Halo the Master Chief Collection that had CE through 4 plus a remaster of Halo 2, but ultimately that not only was Xbox One a weak console, that launch was entirely bungled and broken, and MCC was broken for years.
it's in a perfect
Whereas
state now. Like Halo 2 Anniversary is amazing.
it's in a better state, but it's not. There's still a lot of problems, and they're also stopping development on MCC as well. So any of the bugs that are still there are going to be there forever now, it looks like.
The campaign was supposed to be fine last time I played it.
There's like I could give you a list of like all the problems that are still there, but like in the case of the PlayStation 5, Demon Souls, not only where they bring back online functionality for Demon Souls because that was sunsetted, you're getting a company that had experience remaking PlayStation games because it was the same studio that did the Shadow of the Colossus remaster, so the graphics were going to get a awesome like overhaul. And then you're also getting the fact that they were going to be showing off some of the new things that you could do with the like the new the new PlayStation console with a controller where anytime you hit a certain surface with it, it'd have like a different vibration to it. And then there was like a few other exclusives that you got, but like it's the same deal where you're getting a remaster to an old game, but Demon Souls on launch ran fine. It ran flawlessly, and the online connection was also pretty good too. Even though like most of the guts of the game were the same, like the Halo 2 remaster, like there wasn't like a big issue with like glitches or crashes or the online being unplayable. it like Demon Souls had more justice done to it, and the PS5 was able to sell consoles off of it. It sold a console off me because of it. Whereas I had already bought an Xbox One because I already liked the 360, and the MCC was a total disaster.
Yeah, I will say at this point I am happy with the MCC because when I first got it, I had very few matches I could get into, but I've played it a lot in recent years and I've been happy with it. I'm especially very impressed with how Halo 2 Anniversary they made an old game look well, state of the art at the time, and in terms of cutscenes, it still looks better than most games that come out now. Actually, I can't think of any game that looks as good as it cutscene wise, which is very impressive considering how old Halo 2 is. But yeah. In terms of
Togepunks is kind of right where they did change some of the designs of the enemies and the music, which does give it a bit more generic fantasy aesthetic. But besides that, I would say that like that is like probably the only thing that Halo 2 Anniversary did better than Demon Souls was that they kept the remastered graphics were closer aesthetically to the originals. But even then, Halo 2 Anniversary removed Blow Me Away. So you have to actually switch over to the classic graphics to listen to that track. And same thing with the music by Incubus that was in Halo 2 as well. You have to switch
I'd imagine
over.
that was copyright reasons, but
yeah, but do you think that like if you're gonna make a remaster, you would try to make it work?
well, I agree with you wholeheartedly in that aesthetic, but the thing is, it's forgiven for me since you can switch back to the graphics with the push of a button.
Which is why like I play purely off the classic graphics. I don't do the switching at all.
I like to do the switch. It makes for more dynamic gameplay, and it makes where you can compare how both look state of the art for their time. But when it comes to Xbox exclusivity, what's sad is I haven't been hyped for exclusive from them in a while. Like 2021, my most hyped game was probably Halo Infinite, and while it came out with very little content and took them forever to mainly fix it, it's still lacking guns, but modes and maps in a great state now. Again, while it's in a great state now, it wasn't when it first came out, and now and I haven't had a game like that I was excited for since. Hi-Fi Rush I heard is great, and I've heard Pow World is great, but again, I can't name very much else on the top of my head that's been well received. Because one, they don't produce much. Second, games, some of the games just turned out very underwhelming, like Redfall. It shouldn't have been so bad, but that's because, again, that goes back to a problem like this. Xbox also is known for giving their studios carte blanche when they should manage them better. 343 with Halo Infinite shouldn't have been lazy as hell. Phil Spencer should have came in and guided them. Redfall shouldn't have came out as a fucking mess if Phil Spencer was gonna have it made. But he just letted the crew who admitted they didn't know how to make a multiplayer game right, do what they could. So we know how that turned out. So again, and then you're comparing this with something like Sony that just has popular games coming out at the wazoo. Like this year, my most hyped game was Stellar Blade. I want to buy it soon because, again, it's basically described as Dark Souls meets Nier Automata, which I think is a really great aesthetic because, well, Nier Automata is one of my favorite games, and I think mixing that with Dark Souls aesthetic is going to make for something very unique. But again, that's a PS5 exclusive. I can't name an Xbox game that came out this year or coming out soon that has that same level of hype going for it. But that's because, again, they're drowning, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would like to see Xbox make a comeback, like be the underdog, but unfortunately, I don't see that happening just because of. Well, I mean, you guys said they had. I can't remember if it was the article you read. They're having a whole bunch of layoffs, right?
Yeah, well, they're having layoffs which are related to this, but they don't know whether or not they're going to have more layoffs because Sony didn't comment on it.
Yeah, so like,
or not Sony, sorry, Microsoft didn't comment on it.
Yeah, for sure. Like that. I feel like laying off a whole bunch of people when I mean, I get if you need to do budget cuts, but I don't think that getting rid of the people who are helping make the games themselves is really going to help them down the road when it comes to making a comeback, unless they completely are reshaping up their employment, the people they employ, for the games looking for new artists, I don't see that they're going to be making too much of a comeback, which makes me a little sad because I really enjoy Xbox, still do. Like I said, I've been playing it since my dad brought home the Xbox, the original one you plugged in the controller to, and played the old school Halo on, and I think I played Reach on it too. I can't remember if Reach came out, but Reach was definitely my favorite.
360.
Very was on the 360. Yeah.
Okay, it was on the 360. Yeah, they all kind of muddle together after the years go by, but
Well,
yeah, well, it's probably been my favorite game that Xbox has come up with, and I'm pretty sure that's cross-platform right now, isn't it?
Xbox and PC particularly, nothing else. But when it comes to Xbox, their first two consoles were great. Like, even though the original Xbox didn't sell as well as the PlayStation 2, it still did pretty well for a company that just got into the game. They only lost because they were competing against a company that made a platform that made a sequel, for lack of a better term, to one of the most popular systems in history, the PlayStation 1. And then the Xbox 360 for years was doing fantastic. In fact, outside of Japan, it was winning the console war in sales until The Last of Us dropped. And the only reason why The Last of Us managed to outsell the 360 on its final run, because at the end of the 360 is when Xbox started getting lazy. And then you had the Xbox One, then you had the Xbox Series X that gotten even more lazy than with the Xbox One. And again, I think the only way to fix this is getting a better CEO than Phil Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the leader makes the army.
Yep. Because now Xbox is failing the console war, not because Sony is the established platform, it's because the CEO sucks at his job.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, all these studios are being shut down, and I'm just like, this isn't the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
Rare.
Yep.
I will never forgive Nintendo for selling Rare to Microsoft.
But you were pointing out Microsoft in Griffin Gaming in particular. Griffin Gaming pointed out first to my knowledge, and then I saw Tokupunk pointed out in a community post. Microsoft is Disney at this point. They're Disney of the game industry. They buy a bunch of studios, they hardly produce anything, and when they do, it turns out to be mainly slop, just so they can get content for their streaming service. That's it. And that's what Disney does. They buy studios just so they can get a bunch of movies for their streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
Alice said, "Who are your friends?" Zimzilla99, he's been a friend on here for a while. Meatbag, he's also been a friend on here for a while. Check out Zim's channel. Like, he's got a channel of his own. It's a damn banger. Then you have Meatbag. He doesn't really do anything with his channel. GentleDragon is new. She's pretty chill. Know her from Discord. She plans to do more
her because of me.
Yeah. But she's pretty chill. She doesn't do anything with her channel yet, but has plans to. So
Yeah,
I'll probably link her channel at some point.
yeah. I got a link tree I can send you. Main thing I'm waiting on is I have to save up for a motherboard on my computer. And then that's like the last part, and then the software. But I got a buddy who's going to help me with that. And so once I get that done, I'll be able to make videos and stuff eventually and do better with the podcast. I'll be able to actually hook up my mic, which I'm super excited for because I got a nice mic. Just
Sounds good. I can help you build your platform.
I appreciate it, homie. I just like being here. I enjoy, like I said before, it's all about the journey, not the destination. I like the work that gets put into it.
I do too. But that's because I'm an art. I call myself an art critic. Some people call me an art Nazi. That's what Wade called me.
The Lebensraum of the art must be taken.
But do we have anything more to say about this mess of a situation by an incompetent CEO?
Probably not. Like, Xbox just needs to get its game together. Simple as.
It does. Because,
Simple
again,
as,
I don't think
simple
it's dead,
as.
but Phil Spencer's already been giving up. And if he's given up, don't
He's
let him kill the
been digging
studio.
the
Cut
grave.
him. What, Aaron?
I said Phil Spencer's been digging the grave.
Yeah. And again, I say that. I don't say that as a hate against him as a person. I think he's likable, but he needs to be fired. If he's the one that's giving up. And if he's giving up, way I see it,
Joey, you understand? You must fire the man. It must be done to secure the rights of Xbox so that we can get as many good things as we like. You know, I love Halo. No one loves Halo more than me. China. I love my time with China, and China loves Halo. You know, Phil Spencer, sad. Get him out of here. Simple as.
God damn it. But that's the thing. And Punk said, "Oh my God, Trump."
Bro, you give this man enough time, and he could freaking do any impersonation of anybody.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to the whole thing, like Phil Spencer's clearly given up. He's been leaning towards this for months. Ever since the release of Arcane, he's been hinting at the fact that we've lost, we're over. And the way I see it, if your CEO is acting like that, don't let him take the brand with him. Just fire him, get someone better. That's not how a CEO should be behaving.
No. Yeah,
Anything you have to say, Dragon?
Not much. When it comes to like the consoles themselves, I'm more of the I like to play the games kind of person. So, and between me and my fiance, we have both the consoles, and I'm hoping I'll get my computer built soon. So I'm probably just gonna end up moving to computer anyway, because I've heard good things about computers if you got the right one.
Yeah, I would, but again, I like physical copies, and of course,
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm hardcore collector on all fronts. Like I collect comic books, cards, I collect old books, I collect DVDs, I collect records and video games. Anything I can get a physical copy of, I will collect it.
agreed. Like, digital just feels like you're paying for access. It doesn't feel like you're actually owning something. That's it. You
Yeah.
got convenient access buying digital.
Yeah, and if you lose access to your account, you have to re-download and buy all of them.
Yeah, exactly. I like my physical copies, and I always will. I do like streaming services, but again, Xbox I feel is way too reliant on it. Yet they complain about games not selling well when people are mainly using Game Pass. They're the best way to put it. Sony is not your worst enemy, Xbox. You are.
Microtransactions, they are the plague.
Yep. But that said, that was it for this episode. Please comment your thoughts down below, and if you enjoyed it, smash that like button, share it around, and subscribe. Please check out Sakura Central. We got some big plans with that. We want to do more things with it. I think there's gonna be some really neat stuff to happen. Also check out Zimzilla99's channel. GentleDragon, when she gets hers up, check hers out. Aaron, if he actually ever decides to do anything with his channel, give him a sub. Also, check the Discord server. Please go down into our Discord server. That is fun. That's where we mostly hang out.
Go to Joey's Discord server and then also go to mine. Expand mine out. Don't worry, it's the best server ever. We love things over there, especially China. We build a wall around the other fandoms. We'll gatekeep as we must because no one likes gaming like I like gaming. No one's a winner like I'm a winner. So join the Zim Nation, the Imperium of Zim, and then join the Mackay Phantom. You know, I like the guy, the Mackay. You know, the Mgaro people, you understand? Like, they keep all the bad dark people out of the living world. So, you understand, this is why we need Garos in the defense budget.
Oh, God. Punk said base stream. It was. I really enjoyed it.
Based on what?
But again. I'm gonna head out. Thank you all for joining. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you all had a good time as well. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
Get some cum in your mouth.
You vibes, people, and audio.